You've lived across the hall from this guy for 8 months. Same building, same elevator. You've probably been in that elevator together like 30 times. He has never once said your name. Actually, you're pretty sure he doesn't know it. Then one Tuesday, nothing special about it. You check your account and the number has crossed a threshold. You don't do anything with this information. You close the app, you go make coffee, you don't move, you don't change your hair. You definitely don't walk differently down the hallway. You're not insane. But within 3 months, he knows your name. Within 6, he's waving from the parking lot. Like a real wave. Not the accidental eye contact nod, an actual wave. Within a year, he's asking if you want to grab coffee sometime. And here's the part that messed with me. The strange part isn't that he changed. It's that if the situation were reversed, if he had crossed that threshold and you hadn't, you would have done the exact same thing, and you know it. Nobody in your building could see that number. Nobody announced it. Nobody confirmed it. He definitely didn't check your brokerage account. But something got communicated anyway. And this video is about what that something is. From zero, like actually zero parking spot next to the dumpster, zero all the way up. So this is what zero actually feels like. Not the movie version, where you're eating ramen and staring at the ceiling dramatically. Just a hallway. Tuesday night, you're taking out the trash at 11 o'clock because you forgot again. The hallway smells like someone's cooking fried something. You don't know which apartment? You've lived here 8 months and you still don't know which apartment. You pass 4B on the way to the elevator. The guy's checking his mail. You've seen him maybe 40 times. He doesn't look up. Not because he's rude. He's probably fine. He just hasn't registered you yet. Your furniture with legs. You go back inside, you lock the door, that's it. That's the whole interaction. Next morning, 7:15. Mrs. Caldwell from 6A is waiting for the elevator. 11 years in this building. The super mentioned it once. She doesn't know how long you've been here. 7 floors. Both of you looking at your phones. Nobody says anything. She turns left. You turn right. You have a full conversation with yourself later about whether you should have said something first. You decide you should have. You also know you won't next time. Here's the thing about this level that nobody really talks about. The invisibility isn't the hard part. The hard part is how fast you get used to it. Month 3, you stop expecting the nod in the hallway. Month 5, you stop noticing when it doesn't happen. Month 8, this is just normal. This is what buildings are like. People don't talk? Fine. And that's the problem because you've just rebuilt your entire sense of normal around being unseen. And that recalibration doesn't automatically reverse when your bank account changes. You take it with you. Then one Thursday, your car won't start. Dead battery, parking lot, 7 degrees. You stand there looking at it for a second, like maybe it'll change its mind. It doesn't. And then you realize you don't know who to call. Not because you have nobody, because you've lived next to 40-some people for 8 months, and you genuinely do not know if any of them are the kind of person you can knock on their door at night. You don't know any of them. So you call a tow service. $47, 40 minutes in the cold. The car starts fine the next morning. You never find out why. That's zero. Nobody's against you. The building's not out to get you. You just don't exist here yet. The first thing that changes isn't the apartment. It's the credit card balance. You pay it off on a Wednesday afternoon. Nothing special about Wednesday. You just had enough. You close the laptop and sit there for a second in the quiet. And the quiet feels different. Not because something good happened, because something stopped. That low-level hum in the back of your skull, the one that's been running since you were 22, it's just gone. You sit there for like a full minute doing nothing. Then you go make dinner. You trade in the old car. Nothing crazy. A 4-year-old Civic, clean interior, no warning lights. You drive it home and park it in the same spot by the dumpster because that's still the only spot available. But the next morning, when you walk past it on the way out, something's different. You stand a little straighter. Nobody sees this. You're alone in a parking lot at 7 a.m., but it happens anyway. You also have $3,000 in savings now, which sounds like nothing. and compared to where this video is going, it is nothing. But it's the first time in your adult life that one unexpected bill, one car repair, one ER visit, one thing wouldn't send you into math. At midnight, the lamp in the corner has been flickering for 11 months. You finally buy a bulb. $4. You walked past that lamp for 11 months. Then one February morning, you're loading groceries into the Civic. Cold. Your breath is doing the little cloud thing. A guy walks over from 2 rows across. Older, maybe 65, gray coat, moving slow. Looks like he's been in this building longer than the building has been standing. His name is Walter. You don't know that yet. He's holding jumper cables. He nods at your car, says his truck's been dead since yesterday, asks if you have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. You help him. Engine turns over on the second try. He thanks you. And it's the real version of thank you, not the reflex version. Like he actually looked at you before he said it. He learns your name. You learn his. That's it. But you think about it the whole drive to work. Not because it was some big moment. Because it was the first time anyone in this building needed something from you specifically, not from whoever happened to be standing there. You, a person with a name and a car and 10 minutes. That's new. Mrs. Caldwell starts saying good morning. Not every day, maybe 3 times a week. You don't know what changed. Maybe she finally placed your face. Maybe the new car registered somewhere. Maybe she's just having a better month. You don't know. Doesn't matter. What matters is you notice yourself listening for it. Now on the mornings, she doesn't say anything. The elevator feels slightly off, and you catch yourself noticing that which is its own weird thing. At 0, you didn't expect the greeting, so you didn't feel its absence. Now you do. You're not sure yet if that's progress or just a new way to be disappointed. This level doesn't buy you respect. Not yet. It just makes you legible. You have a pattern now. Same time in, same time out. Car that looks like a decision instead of an inheritance. People don't need to know your story to extend you basic trust. They just need to be able to predict you. And for the first time, you're predictable. The guy from 4B holds the elevator door one evening, doesn't say anything, just holds it. You step in, you both ride up in silence. But it's a different silence than before. You own a door now, not renting one. Owning one. First morning in the townhouse, you walk to the kitchen in socks, make coffee, stand at the window looking at the yard. The grass needs cutting. There's a crack in the fence near the back corner. You don't call anyone about it. You just go buy a lawnmower on Saturday. That's new. That specific feeling. I'll just handle it. That's new. The neighborhood has a name, not just an address. A name on a wooden sign at the entrance with the HOA logo underneath. You pay dues every month. In return, the sidewalks get power washed twice a year, and there are rules about what color you can paint your front door. You pick the approved color closest to the one you actually wanted. Reasonable compromise. Fine. Your neighbors have garages and sedans and kids who leave bikes in the driveway. 3 doors down, there's a woman who grows tomatoes along her fence every summer. Across the street, a guy washes his truck every Sunday without fail. You know these things because you're close enough to people's actual lives to observe them. Now that proximity, that's new too. Someone named Diane adds you to a group chat one Tuesday evening. No explanation, just a notification. Maplewood residents. You scroll up through months of messages you missed. Lost dog alerts, noise complaints worded very carefully, someone asking for a plumber recommendation. Someone else responding 40 minutes later with a number and 3 sentences about why this specific plumber is trustworthy. You save the number. You don't need a plumber. But the gesture of being included, of someone deciding you belong in the conversation, sits with you longer than you expect. Tom from the end of the block knocks on your door 6 weeks after you move in. Thursday evening. Hands you a paper flyer that's been photocopied so many times the edges are blurry. Says there's a barbecue Saturday. Come by if you want. You go. 20 people folding chairs, a cooler. Someone brought a pasta salad that nobody touches. Not once. The entire afternoon. Not even the person who brought it. The conversation moves the way neighborhood conversation moves. Weather traffic, the new development on Route 9. Whether the elementary school is as good as it used to be, someone asks what you do, you answer, they listen. Not the polite half listening where someone's already thinking about what they're going to say next. Actual listening. Follow up questions. You answer more than you plan to. Here's the thing you don't expect. Somewhere between the group chat and the barbecue and Tom's handshake at the door, you notice something shifting that has nothing to do with them. You start answering, what do you do differently? Same answer, different delivery, more direct, less of that half apology at the end, where your voice goes slightly up, like you're checking if it's okay that you exist. And you sit with that for a while because nothing changed. The job's roughly the same. You're the same person. The only thing that changed is you have a door you own and a yard you maintain and a spot in a group chat someone decided you belonged in. And somehow, that's enough to change how your own voice sounds to you when you speak. That's the part that stays with you after the barbecue. Not the handshakes, not the pasta salad that survived the entire afternoon untouched. The fact that you went home that night feeling like someone who was supposed to be somewhere. The suburb doesn't care who you are. It cares whether you're staying, and for the first time you are. That one word changes more than your address. The number crosses on a Tuesday. You're in the car, stopped at a red light, checking your phone. The brokerage app updates. You stare at it for maybe 4 seconds. Light turns green. You drive, no confetti, no feeling of arrival, just a number on a screen and a green light, and the rest of the day happening exactly the way it was going to happen. Anyway, the house is in a different zip code now. Not gated, not the kind of street that shows up in magazines, just noticeably better. Wider roads, older trees, landscaping that looks like people have lived here long enough to actually care about it. Your car is newer, nothing exotic, but new enough that it doesn't disappear into the background anymore. The mortgage payment doesn't scare you. You park in the driveway. A neighbor across the street waves. Not the accidental eye contact nod. A real wave. The kind that says, I already decided you're probably fine. You wave back. It takes you a second to process that it just happened. People remember your name here, not because you introduced yourself more carefully, not because you tried harder at the block association meeting. They just remember, and the handshake is the same handshake. The eye contact is the same eye contact. The name is the same name you've had your whole life. The only thing that changed is the house behind you, the car in the driveway. Some invisible signal, a person broadcasts just by existing in a certain place at a certain level, and people respond to that signal before they respond to anything else. You know this now in a way you didn't before. There's a couple down the street, Greg and Sandra, nice people. Genuinely, they have you over for dinner in your 3rd month. Good food, easy conversation. You leave feeling like you actually made friends, real ones. 3 weeks later, Greg mentions a business idea casually, almost accidentally, like, it just came up. It didn't just come up. You recognize the shape of the conversation, the way someone builds toward an ask without ever announcing they're building toward one. You've seen it before. You've probably done it before. You say something non-committal, change the subject, nothing gets ruined. Everyone stays pleasant. The dinner invitation still stands, but something got named. Even though neither of you named it, here's the part you weren't ready for. It still felt good. The dinner, the conversation, the way Greg looked at you when you talked about what you'd built. That specific quality of being in a room where someone has decided you're worth impressing. You knew the motivation was complicated. You let it in anyway. And you drive home that night holding 2 things at the same time. 1, some of the respect coming your way is real. 2, you can't tell in the moment which kind is which. That's the thing nobody puts in the brochure about this level. Not the house, not the zip code. The fact that you used to know exactly why people ignored you. Now, you don't know exactly why they don't. And living inside that ambiguity, figuring out who's Greg and who's just Greg, that's the actual work of this level. Nobody tells you that part. The houses on this street don't touch each other, which fine houses don't touch, but there's a difference between houses that happen to have space between them and houses that were built specifically to maintain distance. These were built to maintain distance. Long driveways, professional landscaping, everything trimmed to the exact height that says money without announcing it. You move in on a Saturday, the truck leaves by 2. By evening, not one neighbor has knocked on the door. They're not unfriendly. You figure this out over the next few weeks. Your neighbor to the left is a cardiologist. His wife runs a nonprofit. They have a dog with a name that sounds like a law firm. Your neighbor to the right is something in finance. You're not entirely sure what. When he explains it, you understand each word individually, just not the sentence they form together. He doesn't seem to notice. Everyone here is impressive. Everyone here knows it, including you, now, which is its own adjustment. The conversations work differently at this level. People ask good questions, thoughtful questions, the kind that tell you they've already assessed you before the conversation started, and they're filling in specific gaps. You answer, they listen, you ask, they answer. It functions. It produces the thing that resembles connection. But you drive home from the first block association meeting and sit in the driveway for a second before going inside. And you try to remember one thing, one specific thing that felt personal. You can't find one. One evening, you go for a walk after dinner. You pass the cardiologist's house. He's visible through the window, sitting at a desk. He looks up, sees you, raises a hand. You raise yours back. He goes back to whatever he was doing. You keep walking. The exchange was perfectly correct, acknowledged, reciprocated, done, and completely empty. Here's what this level teaches you that no level below it could. Warmth and respect are not the same thing. At the barbecue with Tom and the folding chairs and the pasta salad that survived the entire afternoon, the respect was smaller, more conditional. Someone could have decided not to invite you, and that would have been the end of it. But it was warm. People asked about your life because they actually wanted to know. Here, the respect is essentially unconditional. Nobody's going to uninvite you from anything, and it arrives the way a contract arrives, correctly, completely, without anyone meaning it personally. There is a particular kind of loneliness that lives at this level, not the loneliness of being alone. There are people at every dinner, every gathering. It's the loneliness of being known only as what you have. Nobody here knows you drove a car that died in a parking lot in 7 degrees weather. Nobody knows you spent 8 months in a building where the guy across the hall didn't know your name. That person still exists inside you. Nobody here knows to look for him. You think about the apartment sometimes, not with regret exactly, with something you don't quite have a word for. The people on the street speak a language you've learned fluently. You use it correctly. You use it well, but it's still a second language. And some nights, when the house is quiet and the landscaping is perfect and everyone is behind their own long driveways, you miss the first one. There's a gate now. Black iron automated opens when your car approaches, closes behind you with a sound that is both mechanical and final. You chose this place partly for the gate. You told yourself it was for privacy, which is true, but privacy and wanting to not deal with people are not always different things. And you don't always examine that distinction as carefully as you should. A young guy moves into the guest unit at the end of the street. Rental short-term. Maybe 24 drives, something old parks. It's slightly crooked every time. The way people park when they're not used to having a driveway, you notice him the first week. Not warmly, not coldly, just he doesn't quite fit the visual pattern of the street and your eye catches it. One morning, you're getting the mail and he walks past. You give him the small nod. The one that says, "I see you. We share the street." That's the extent of it. He nods back, looks almost surprised. You go back inside. You don't think about it again until that evening. And then you do longer than you expected because you know that nod. You've been on the receiving end of that calculation your entire life. The scan that happens in less than a second before someone decides how much of themselves to extend to a stranger. The one that produces a nod instead of a hello instead of a conversation. You know exactly what it feels like to be on the wrong side of it. And you just ran it on someone else without noticing. That's the thing about arriving at this level. You don't just get the house and the gate and the street. You get the gaze that comes with it. The same one that made you invisible in that hallway at 0. The same one you spent years climbing out from under. You didn't decide to adopt it. You just woke up one morning and it was already yours. And the question that sits with you that evening, the one you don't entirely want to answer, is how long you've been using it without knowing. Your portfolio clears 8 figures sometime in the spring. You find out from an email. You read it once, you close it, you're still thinking about the kid with the crooked parking. There's a dinner that month. 12 people, long table, someone's private chef. The conversation is sharp and impressive, and completely impersonal. The way conversations at this level always are. Nobody asks where you grew up. Nobody asks what you were scared of at 23. You've stopped expecting them to. But this time on the drive home, you're not thinking about what they didn't ask you. You're thinking about what you didn't ask them. You sit in the driveway for a second before going inside. You think about the kid at the end of the street, whether he has someone to call if his car dies in the cold, whether anyone on this street would be the kind of person he could knock on their door and ask. Whether you would be, you're not sure. And not being sure at this address with this gate, with this much distance from that parking lot, feels like its own kind of answer. Nobody here is impressed by you. Take a moment with that. Not because they're hostile, not because they've assessed you and found you lacking, because they don't need to be impressed by anyone. And after everything, after the parking spot by the dumpster, after Mrs. Caldwell's elevator, after Tom's book you and Greg's dinner, and the cardiologist's dog with the law firm name, that is the strangest neighborhood you've ever lived in. The compound is not a house. It's a decision someone made with architecture and land about how much distance they need between themselves and everything else. You bought someone else's vision of what this level looks like. Some mornings, that feels efficient. Some mornings, it feels like wearing a suit that fits perfectly and belongs to someone else. Your neighbors here are not proximate. They're parallel. Same destination, different roads. You can see it in how they carry themselves. The specific stillness of people who stopped needing to prove something years ago. A man 2 properties over built a logistics company out of a warehouse in Ohio. Sold it, built something else. You've spoken maybe 6 times in 14 months. Every conversation has been interesting. None of them have been personal. You've both accepted this without discussing it. It takes you a few months to find the word for what this level feels like. Weightlessness. Not the good kind. The kind that comes from having no friction, left nobody to impress, no gap between where you are and where you're supposed to be. At 0, the invisibility had weight. It pressed on you. It made you want things. This invisibility, the invisibility of being beyond assessment, has no weight at all. Your investment income in a single quarter exceeds what you made in your first 3 years of work combined. You note this. You move on. There's nowhere for the information to land. One evening, a neighbor stops you on the walking path along the property line. Her name is Claire. Been here longer than you. Built something in real estate. Quiet, precise. She asks how you're settling in. Fine, you say. Good. Beautiful property, she nods. Then she asks, not about the business, not about the portfolio, not about any of the things people have been asking you about for 15 years. She asks about your kids, how old, what they're into, whether the youngest has figured out what she wants to study yet. You mentioned your kids once 7 months ago. In passing, she remembered, you're standing on a walking path and something moves in your chest that you weren't expecting. Not because the question was extraordinary, because it was ordinary. Because she looked past the compound and the 4 acres and the pool that gets maintained, whether you swim in it or not, and asked about something that actually matters to you. You stand there, probably a beat too long before you answer. You think about Walter. February parking lot. 7 degrees gray coat jumper cables, slow walk. He didn't know your name, didn't know what you drove, didn't know what you were building. He just saw someone standing next to a dead car in the cold and asked if you had 10 minutes. No assessment, no positioning, no layered motivation to figure out afterward. Just 2 people in a parking lot. One needed something, the other one was there. You've lived in 7 neighborhoods now. Been invisible, been legible, been welcomed, assessed, respected from a distance, known from a distance. And the clearest moment of actual recognition across all of it was a man whose last name you still don't know, holding a set of jumper cables when you had nothing at a 100 million. Nobody needs anything from you. Nobody needs to give you anything either. And in that silence, that perfect, frictionless, expensive silence, you finally understand what you were actually looking for. The whole time, it wasn't the respect, it was Walter. Now, none of this means money makes you happy. You've seen enough of these levels to know that's not the point. The point is that money changes the conditions you're operating in, the way people see you before they know you, the way you see yourself before you've done anything that day. And if you don't know that going in, if you think the respect at level 4 is the same thing as the warmth at level 2, you'll spend a lot of years chasing the wrong thing. Walter knew your name before he knew anything else about you. That's not something a number in an account produces. It's something you build separately on purpose. If this hit different than you expected, the next video is about the actual mechanics, how people at each of these levels got there, what they did in their 20s that compounded, and what most people get wrong in the first 5 years. Links up there. And if you're at 0 right now or close to it, that video starts there too.